minus 30 seconds.
DeAndre Hopkins! Justin Jefferson, have a day! What a catch! C.D. Lamb! Only this guy, I think. I mean, maybe I'm trying to think of somebody else. And he hurdles his way into the end zone. Touchdown. I was scared for the interception by Kenny Moore.
2, 1, 0.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the final drive. I'm your host, Josh Frey-Sam. As always, thank you very much for joining me on this Sunday, November 14th, 2021. What a beautiful week 10 it was. Very exciting episode ahead. I hope you guys are tuning into the final drive and you guys aren't busy watching Adele right now on the her one-time showing thing here. I hope you guys are tuned in right here, talk some football. Big time week this week here in the NFL. Really exciting one. A lot more things to talk about than last week. Really exciting to have a couple of guests on here. Once again, we have Cam is back. Okay. If you guys didn't already know, Cam Newton is back. Michael Gallup is back as well. But you want to know who else is back is my boy Taylor Allen from the Winnipeg Free Press. So let me bring in my guy here. Taylor, happy week 10, sir. Happy Sunday. How you doing, man?
Good. Appreciate you bringing me back on. I won't scream I'm back like Cam Newton, but I am happy to be back for sure.
No doubt, man. I haven't talked to you in a while. How is maybe a little bit aside from the NFL, man? You are, as some of the viewers here might know, you are the one of the beats for our Winnipeg Blue Bombers here, who are absolutely going crazy right now. Obviously, not this past weekend. We benched a lot of guys, but we are heads and shoulders above the rest of the league right now, on our way hopefully to another Grey Cup, barring that we stay healthy. How is life for you, man, covering the Bombers? How is life as a sports journalist?
It's been good. Yeah, actually, I had a couple days off this week, which kind of worked out perfectly because this was kind of a meaningless game for the Bombers, but I will be in Calgary this weekend for their season finale. But yeah, interesting game yesterday. Again, like you said, they were benching most of their starters, some of their starters, but it's the first time Sean McGuire got to start a game, and you know, everyone's always kind of excited to see what a backup quarterback can do in their first start. And Sean McGuire quickly showed that he's not the answer. So, they better wrap Zach Clarison in bubble wrap. I believe Darren Bombing tweeted that, and that's so accurate because, yeah, if he goes down, sounds like so with Bombers. So yeah, very disappointing showing from Sean McGuire. But yeah, it's a meaningless game, so I know Bomber fans aren't too bummed about it. But yeah, again, keeping Zach healthy for playoffs is now even more important than what it already was.
Absolutely, no question about it, man. Let's keep number 8 healthy. Let's get going. But let's go to the national. Let's go south of the border here. Let's go National Football League here instead of Canadian Football League. I want to start off this episode though, man, not by recapping a game. We'll get into all the recaps right away. We have Dave Birkett coming on here in about 10-12 minutes time here. But until then, let's quickly take a look actually at the playoff picture here. This isn't fully updated coming right off of Sunday Night Football here, because obviously the Chiefs won there. You have the Vegas Raiders that are in 4th place still. But Chiefs are now, they are back in the playoff picture. They are back rolling. You can see in the NFC there, man, what's standing out to you on, let's go to the left column here. What's standing out to you there on the NFC? Like, I mean, we have really 5 teams that are in the thick of this thing: Green Bay, Arizona, Dallas, Tampa Bay, LA, who are all battling for number 1 seed. And then right after that, do you feel it's just like a complete drop off from there?
Yeah, it feels like the NFC is definitely very top heavy this year. I mean, you kind of look at the divisions, and I guess other than the NFC West, really, it kind of feels like most of them are. It's pretty obvious who's going to come out on top. I mean, I know the Saints still in it, but I mean, Jameis Winston went down, and I know the Panthers are, they've had some good games, and we'll see what Cam Newton could do for them, I guess. And they have a really good defense as well. But I mean, like, no one's going to take any of those teams over the Bucs, obviously. And Vikings have been a huge disappointment this year. Yeah, I mean, Cardinals, Rams will go down to the wire for sure. But other than that, NFC East is back to being the NFC East, although the Cowboys are having an exceptional year. But Washington taking a huge step back this year, which is funny me saying that because they did just beat Tom Brady today, but before that, it's been a very disappointing year for them. So yeah, it seems like a very top heavy conference this year. So the teams that do kind of sneak in the wild card, I don't really expect any Cinderella stories from the NFC this year by any means.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Yeah, it seems like 5 team battle, 5-team race. Get to it. See who comes out alive. Go duke it out in there in the playoffs. See who can come into the playoffs really the healthiest at the end of the day, and see who can get hot at the right time, make a run. But then even on the AFC side of things, we'll cut back to this real quick. But on the AFC side of things, it's a lot more wide open. I mean, Tennessee has now really kind of separated themselves a little bit from the pack. In a sense, but really the Tennessee and Buffalo are 1 and 2 now in the AFC. And I really think that's the way it should be. I think those are definitely the 2 best teams in the AFC in my mind. And then after that, in my opinion, it's just a complete crapshoot after that. Like, I mean, you have New England who's really getting hot now, and we'll talk about them right shortly. Raiders just lost. You got Kansas City. But in my opinion, like I think that give it maybe a couple weeks time, we're going to be seeing that Kansas City Chiefs, that little arrowhead, just kind of creeping right back up to the top of the standings. I think they're going to be in the thick of it once again. What say you on that?
Yeah, I haven't really been saying anything negative about the Chiefs. I mean, I know the season has not been pretty up until really tonight, I guess. But I mean, that team just has so much talent, and they've been together for a couple years as well, obviously. So kind of only a matter of time before they kind of get over this hump, I feel like, and kind of get back to playing their style of football. As long as they make the playoffs, I mean, they're still a team to be reckoned with. It doesn't matter if they have to go on the road, but obviously if they can play at Arrowhead, that's going to be a huge advantage as well. But I'd say the AFC West and the AFC North have been the 2 most fun divisions to follow this year. The West, all 4 of those teams have been disappointing and impressive at the same time. They've all kind of had their moments. The Raiders were a nice early surprise, and then a bunch of things outside of football obviously happened, and that's kind of changed the whole narrative surrounding them. Brandon Staley looked like an early favorite for Coach of the Year, but they've kind of hit a little bump in the road here as well. And you look at the AFC North, what a roller coaster for all these teams. Really, I mean, the Ravens kind of look like a Super Bowl favorite, and then they have a horrendous showing this week. Steelers start the season out rough, and then they kind of figure things out a bit, and then Big Ben gets hurt, and today's game with the Lions is one of the worst displays of professional football that you're ever going to see. No one wanted to win the game. I was watching the game with some buddies, and it was like, oh my goodness, like, someone please, like, just make a play here. But it was just horrendous. The Bengals, Jamar Chase killing it, Joe Burrow killing it, but that team's still probably a year or 2 away from really competing. And then the Browns. The Browns, yeah.
Yeah.
They've had some good moments, but Baker. Oh man, we could spend an hour just talking about Baker Mayfield, but those 2 divisions have been a blast to follow, and those ones are going to go down to the wire for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be some great December football ahead, especially when you talk about, especially in the AFC North there. When you're talking about in the North, you got Baltimore and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, right? And Cleveland. You got all those guys who are in the North there. The snow is going to be flying in December. It's going to be cold. It's going to be some hard-nosed football. It is just a matter of let's duel it out, man. Let's go toe-to-toe here, and let's beat each other up. But let's transition here into Sunday Night Football here. Kansas City versus the Las Vegas Raiders. You and I were talking before we came live here about how we both expected this to be a little bit of a better showing. I bet on the Raiders at +3, thought that they were going to come through, but they obviously didn't. This was a chance for the Raiders to really make a statement here and claim their spot, etch their spot in stone at the top of the AFC West, and really just completely take it over, like, and kind of maybe see that shifting of the guard a little bit, if you want to call it that. But my biggest takeaway from this, and I'll get yours in a second, Taylor, but my biggest takeaway from this game was the fact that this was the first game for me that, since this whole narrative of the cover 2 and this being the scheme to stop all the explosive offenses, especially Kansas City, this was the first game that I've seen Patrick Mahomes really kind of progress and evolve in a sense, right? We've seen Patrick Mahomes all year really just kind of sticking to the same script that has gotten the Chiefs to 2 consecutive Super Bowls, chucking the ball deep, making off-script plays, right? Being able to heave it up, use that arm talent that he has, and really just get someone's going to come down with the ball. Really, Tyreek Hill is going to outrun everybody. That was kind of the thing coming into this season too, right? Was people maybe asking themselves, well, what is left for Patrick Mahomes to accomplish here, right? Like, I mean, he's got an MVP, he's gone to a Super Bowl. This guy is one of the most talented players to ever play the game. What does he have left to grow on? And it was a matter of reading defenses, seeing where the blitz is coming from, and it's really shown this year in terms of his ability to read the defense and just take his time down the field. We're not seeing 4-play 70-yard drives anymore from the Chiefs. We're seeing more methodical 10-play 8-minute drives from the Chiefs now. And this was the first game where I actually saw them be able to take that and implement it into a game plan and have success with it. The Raiders look like the 2020 version of their defense here, but what were your thoughts on Sunday Night Football here?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you talk about the Chiefs, everyone wants to talk about Patrick Mahomes, and yeah, they've been struggling this year, and people always just kind of want to talk about the quarterback play, and yeah, at times he's made some really puzzling decisions this season and just playing kind of sloppy, like making. I mean, he's Patrick Mahomes. He can make any throw in the book and then some, but just kind of making some really poor decisions, throwing off his back foot and just kind of forcing some plays that really aren't there. But also, too, when you look at this team, though, like a big reason for their struggles is they've been very inconsistent running the ball. Before he got hurt, Clyde Edwards-Helaire really was pretty ineffective this year. And Darrell Williams had a huge game for the Chiefs tonight. That obviously made a big difference, And then their defense has been very underwhelming this season as well. And tonight they had a strong showing against the Derek Carr and the Raiders offense. So Patrick Mahomes kind of got some help. So as great as he is, he can't do everything by himself. And again, everyone kind of wants to blame him. And at times that's kind of been fair. But at the same time, you have to look at the whole picture here. And he can't play defense and run the ball as well for this team. So if he can get some help from those two categories a little bit moving forward, I mean, these Chiefs are going to be back to the old ways sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Like I said, this was kind of like that tune-up game that they needed in a sense to get maybe back on track. Like, I mean, you're talking Mahomes over 400 yards passing, 5 tugs, Kelsey, Williams over 100 yards receiving each. I think Tyreek Hill was knocking on the door of 100 yards receiving himself. 2 touchdowns for Hill as well. This was just a rout in every sense of the word here. I mean, Las Vegas couldn't even if Vegas was able to make a couple of stops here and there, I mean, their offense, I mean, it really seemed to unravel there when Deshaun Jackson caught that deep ball and then just wasn't able to turn that into seemingly a walk-in touchdown. That's really what, in my opinion, was that game-changing play there, and just really led to a just complete debacle after that for the Raiders. I don't know if you have anything left to say on this, but let's quickly go to the Vikings.
We'll just have one quick thing. One quick thing to say on that.
Please go.
What's the worst play when Deshaun Jackson, I think it was with the Eagles at the time, or maybe it was Washington. No, I think it was the Eagles, when he caught that deep pass and he threw the ball just before crossing the goal line, or tonight's play where it looks like it was a video game glitch and he forgot which way to run and then he fumbles the ball. Which play's worse, do you think?
Okay, sorry. So you said with Deshaun Jackson, or what was the other one?
So remember when Deshaun Jackson caught that deep pass and just before he crossed the goal line, he dropped the ball? Yeah. So that was a couple of years ago. But which play is worse?
That one definitely.
You think? Yeah.
Dropping the ball. Like, I mean, listen, he has the excuse to fall back on at least tonight, whereas like, okay, well, it was my first time in a Raiders use, but like, I don't know, like this is a play he should have made in his sleep. But that's just like a play of like something he could just fall back on. Maybe, I don't know. He has an excuse. That was just with the Eagles, I think, right? Was that when he did that? I mean, that was like prime Deshaun Jackson. Like, I mean, you got no, see, that's just him being cockier than ever, like just foolish as ever. And what about you? Do you think that was the worst one?
I think tonight might be worse, honestly. Like, what are you doing running? Like, the first one was just like being cocky and kind of showboating, but tonight it's like, what were you doing? Like how do you catch a deep pass and then run backwards? Basically, I've never seen that before in my entire life. So I don't know. They both deserve to be on the blooper reel for many years to come. But not one of the Deshaun Jackson's finest moments tonight. That's for sure.
Not at all. Okay, Dave, we're still waiting on Dave here. I saw him pop into the screen here and then he left. I don't know where he's at. Hopefully he'll come in here right away. But let's get to this Vikings Chargers game before we bring him in. And Taylor, I think first time that I had you on here, Kirk Cousins went pretty crazy. I think he had like 3 touchdowns, no picks. He went pretty crazy in that game. I can't remember who they were playing. They might have lost in that game. Actually, I'm not even sure what happened there. It was another 1-score game, but tonight was another 1-score game for the Vikings. They won finally, 3-5 on the season now in these 1-score games. The Chargers' run defense continues to look horrible. This is the 8th time that they've allowed more than 100 yards rushing in a game, which is the most in the NFL. Quick little anecdote, Justin Herbert, 4th fastest quarterback in history to reach 50 touchdown passes. That is behind Mahomes, Kurt Warner, and Dan Marino. But Kirk Cousins, I think, and this Minnesota Vikings team is really more the story here. They were able to at least get a win on the board. They're sitting just outside the playoff picture here now. Kirk Cousins, another efficient game, 25 for 37, almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson with big days as well. Break down this game for us, Taylor, and I'm leaning on you for this one because obviously the Packers game was on at the exact same time. So I wasn't watching this game. Give us your recap of this game.
Well, whether the Vikings were going to win or lose today, this would be my facial expression at the final result. because honestly, the Vikings are currently stuck in hell because they're mediocre. They got too much talent to be, a bottom of the barrel team picking at the top of the draft, but they're not quite good enough, especially coaching wise, to compete with the Packers, the Bucks, the Rams, the Cowboys as well in the NFC. So yeah, they might steal one of the final playoff spots here, but it's like who cares? Like they're going to be one and done. Maybe steal one playoff game. I don't know, but so it's a very infuriating place to be. But Vikings fans, myself included, I think we're kind of done with this regime. Mike Zimmer, he's one of the greatest coaches in franchise history. Like he 100% is, but just kind of feels like today's NFL isn't suited to having an old school defensive minded coach. And again, speaking of the talent that they do have, guys like Justin Jefferson, who had a monster game, and Dalvin Cook had a really good game as well. These guys often aren't used to their capabilities as well, and it's just mind-boggling. And an offensive coordinator. I mean, you look at Kirk Cousins. I think he's had like 7 different offensive coordinators in these past 7 years, or something crazy like that. And I don't care which quarterback you are, like that is just not a recipe for success. But somehow Kirk has managed to do somewhat okay with all that turnover. But at the same time, though, I've been watching every throw this guy's make these past couple of years, and my opinion really changes about him every single week, if I'm being honest. But I think I'm finally ready to say, like, he's not the guy. They don't have the guy in-house currently. How do you go get that guy? I don't know, especially, again, when you're stuck in the middle. It's
worst
a
spot
place to be. Because how do you get Kirk's replacement while he's currently on the team? Because you're not going to be bad enough to really get him. So you have to trade up a million draft picks to make that happen or something. I don't know. So they got the win. The season's still alive. They beat a good Chargers team. I really like the Chargers this year. So that's something. But who cares?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. And that's a fair assessment. Like, I mean, they're like you said, that's the worst place to be in the NFL, right? Is at 8-8, 7-9, 9-7. That's the worst. I mean, maybe with the extra wild card in play, the fact that maybe more 8-8 teams can sneak into the playoffs, that's a big deal for some franchises, right? Is to at least make the playoffs at the very least. But when you're talking about a team like the Minnesota Vikings, who, like you said, they have a lot of talent on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Is a matter of they had a bad year last year. Really was expecting, especially with their draft picks coming in, and acquiring a guy like Patrick Peterson as well, getting guys back from injury and whatnot, for like Anthony Barr, so on and so forth. They were expecting, they had really high hopes going into this season. So this is really disappointing. And I mean, Mike Zimmer, maybe this is it for him. I think that he'll get scooped up real quick as a defensive coordinator. But
100% he'd be hired within days. Like he would be a fantastic defensive coordinator for any team. But really, I mean, every team now out there wants to find the next Sean McVay, the next Matt LaFleur, the Cliff Kingsbury, these young Brandon Staley. They want to find these young offensive gurus.
It's the way it's going. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Okay, let's see if we've got our guy here. I think I don't know if Dave is having some issues here. Dave, are you there?
I'm here. What's going on, guys?
Not much, man. I didn't even give you an intro. Here's my big intro for Dave here. I wanted to kind of test this out here. Okay, 3-time Michigan Sports Writer of the Year. Okay, joining us here, people. Crucial voter for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm just going off his Twitter bio here right now. Okay, and Detroit Lions beat writer for the Detroit Free Press, Mr. Dave Birkett. Dave, man, thank you very much for joining us. I'm not sure if you're having camera troubles or whatnot. Feel free to turn on the camera if you want. But thanks very much for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing really well. Week 10, another week in the NFL it has concluded. So I mean, we're a little bit sad about another week going by, but overall, it's been pretty good. Dave, I want to
another loss for the Lions as usual.
A tie.
Oh, sorry, a tie. Right,
Taylor,
sorry, yeah.
A tie. Okay, so we're getting better. We're trending in the right direction. Dave, I do want to start off by asking you though, not about football. I want to ask you about your job because Taylor here is actually a sports journalist. I'm a soon-to-be sports journalist. Can you maybe break it down about how difficult it is, what the pros and cons are of you covering a team like the Detroit Lions? And I'm not trying to take shots at you because I assume maybe you're a fan of the Lions in some way, shape, or form. But how difficult is it? What are the pros and cons to you covering a team like the Lions, who are really, really struggling here? They have one tie on the year, and we're really not sure when they are going to get better.
Yeah, not a fan at all. I mean, I'm just a reporter, so I
good.
just kind of do my job. Doesn't matter one bit to me whether they win or lose. Certainly, if they win, it probably makes my life easier. But, you sort of get the fan knocked out of you a long time, well before you get into the career. But, no, I mean, I've been covering this team for a decade now. And, certainly I've seen a lot of lows with these guys, a lot of losses. But I just try to sort of report the facts, report what's out there, share my opinions when it's called for. And,
okay.
Other than that, just about doing a job.
I was trying to get a juicy answer out of you. I'm sorry. That's on me. But hey, let's talk about actual football here, you guys. And I want to know, and from both of you guys, do you guys think the NFL needs to change its OT rules? Because really, I forget who it was. Was it Jameis Winston when he was with the Bucs? He went on record. He was like, tying in an NFL game is like kissing your cousin or something like that. He said it's just icky. You know what I mean? Like, Dave, I'll get your thoughts on this first, man. Like, do you think that the NFL needs to change its overtime rules to avoid a tie?
No, I mean, it sucks, right? Like, I don't think anyone walked away from today's game happy about the outcome. Even though the Lions, they avoid being 0-17, like, they don't feel good about getting a tie necessarily. But, I think you understand that, ties are pretty rare. So the, times like these when they happen, I guess you can live with them. And, the Lions, that was a pretty bad football game at the end there. Neither team was moving the ball offensively. And, the Lions had about 3 or 4 shots in the end to get a touchdown. So I don't know how much more football of that magnitude people wanted to stomach watching that game. And the other thing is just given the fact that players are playing 17 games now and, the focus on health and safety, I think I completely get why they've trimmed overtime to 10 minutes and why they limit it to 1 period.
Okay. Taylor, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Dave with that as well. I mean, my kind of thinking too was the safety thing. Just I don't think it'd be safe to prolong a game any longer. And honestly, if you can't score at least a field goal in an entire overtime period, you don't deserve to get a win anyways. So, I'm fine with the OT how it is.
Yeah, I could see it going either way. Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to the NFL testing something out in the preseason next season or something like that, or season after. I wouldn't be opposed to them tabling something. But I mean, as it stands right now, I mean, it's just like Dave said, it's one of those things that's such a rarity that I guess it's somewhere we live with for now. But 16-16 game here, Dave. Almost 700 total yards of offense in this. Detroit had 229 yards on the ground. Won the turnover battle 3-0, which is something that I talked about in last week's show. You win the turnover battle, you got a great chance at winning the football game. But the biggest thing for them was they couldn't couldn't extend their drives. They couldn't stay on the field. Third down efficiency was 22%. What were your thoughts on this game, Dave? Break this down for us. I know you said it's an ugly game at the end of it, but what were your thoughts on Detroit's effort as a whole here? Do you see them getting better at the very least?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they did some good things running game wise. Their offense it's pretty putrid, just to be honest, when it comes to like throwing the ball. I mean, they have, they're very shorthanded at receiver. Jared Goff did not have a good day today. He was dealing with a little bit of an oblique injury, and the weather was pretty bad, so maybe there's a little bit of a valid excuse there. But just in general, 9 games in, the Lions have not been a good offense. I don't know how much hope there is for them to be that much better. Look, the game, I guess it played out kind of how I thought it would, in that it was going to be close and it was going to come down to some plays at the end. And, if you're a Lions fan, you're probably disappointed that they couldn't capitalize on some of those mistakes. Steelers turned the ball over a couple times in overtime today. But look, they don't have a ton of talent. We've known that all along. I mean, that goes on both sides of the ball. And that being said, I thought they did a good job on Najee Harris for the most part and gave themselves a chance.
Taylor, go ahead with a question if you have one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that the Lions have probably one of the worst receiving corps in the NFL that we've seen in recent years, honestly. But Dave, I'm curious, how much do you think the Lions' struggles on offense are Jared Goff, and how much of it is just the fact that he really, other than Hawkinson and Swift, I guess, out of the backfield, he really has no one to throw the ball to? I mean, Khalif Raymond is a solid third receiver on a team, I guess, but he should not be your best receiver.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, you're right. Obviously they're shorthanded on offense, and Jared Goff is, he's not working with a full deck there, right, at receiver. I mean, they signed Josh Reynolds here this week, or claimed him on waivers, I should say. And he didn't play today, but before long he's going to be, probably this team's number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver, maybe. That's just sort of the state of where they're at right now. And so they don't have a ton there, just to be frank. I mean, between after DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, but you can't divorce Goff from some of the problems they've had. I mean, Jared Goff has not played well. I think he's got 3 touchdown passes in the last 7 games, something like that. And 10 turnovers this season, and not all of those his fault. But look, he has not played well. And if the Lions are going to go anywhere or do anything on offense, because they don't have much in the receiving core, they need more out of Jared Goff for that to happen.
Dave, do you think, okay, so this team, I kind of like the coaching staff, honestly, at the beginning of the year. I liked with Dan Campbell and him bringing in Deuce Staley there. Deuce Staley obviously wanted to grow and go forward in his coaching career. So he was able to come on. Anthony Lynn, even Mark Brunell, Antoine Randall coaching the receivers here. Do you see this coaching staff sticking together next season? Do you see any turnover after this kind of season? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, they don't win a game this season. Do you see this as a complete they stay together?
Well, stay together. I mean, I guess who knows about that? Like, you're bound to have some changes, I'm sure. And the fact that Dan Campbell is now calling plays, I don't know what that means for Anthony Lynn's future. It's not Lynn's fault. I mean, when you got Jared Goff and the receiving core that you have, and I just don't know how much. Look, Jared Goff's 15-1 now without Sean McVay, right, as his play caller. So I don't know that anyone was expecting miracles out of Anthony Lynn. And the running game is really his baby. So maybe he deserves more credit than he got for what happened today. So I think most of the staff will be back. In fact, I like most of the staff. I think, Aaron Glenn could be a head coach. I mean, certainly not coming off whatever sort of season they're going to have. He's probably not going to get many looks, but I do think he's a good coordinator. I think they have some good assistants on staff. So, there's you're right, Dan Campbell and the rest of his staff. I do think they made a positive first impression with Lions fans, but you got to get some wins before long too, because no one's happy with a winless team, no matter what the excuses, how valid they are talent wise.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, I'm curious about Dan Campbell. I mean, there's always it seems like every week there's a different kind of a quote that kind of goes viral because he's such a passionate guy and whatnot. But Dave, what's he like with the media?
Yeah, no, Dan's. I mean, he's what you see in, at the podium is what he is in real life. I think and I think that's why what he does tends to be respected in the locker room because. People appreciate the passion. They appreciate the honesty, the genuineness that he has. And, when he was crying after the Minnesota loss, that's what he was doing in the locker room. When he was critical of Jared Goff after the Bengals game, that's what he said to Jared Goff. So, don't think that, Dan is a caricature in any way. Some of the things that he says, I know some people may, kind of wonder what he's doing or try to read into that, but I'll tell you that's the real Dan Campbell, I think.
That's good to know. And I mean, Taylor, you mentioned one of the weapons that Jared Goff has at his disposal, that being DeAndre Swift. He's a special talent there. Dave, I got a question for you in the sense. DeAndre Swift, he is a top what running back in the NFL?
That's a tough question. I mean, I don't, he's not a top 5 running back or anything like that. I don't think. I mean,
No.
He's a young guy still, and today was really the most success he's had on the ground. And even then, he only, he averaged less than 4 yards a carry. So some of those big runs haven't been there. I thought he ran well today. He ran angry at times. I thought he did some good things. 130 yards, 33 carries. Maybe. If workload was a question coming in, whether he could handle that big of a workload, I think he answered some of those questions because no Jamal Williams and his backup got hurt early, Jamal Jefferson. So he did some really good things. But, I think you're probably looking at, and he is such a good weapon in the receiving game, I think you're looking at probably, a top 10 or 15 back in the NFL right now, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he's only going to get better as well. I'm a big fan of DeAndre Swift. Okay, well, hey, Dave, I got one more question for you here before I ask. This is my penultimate question for you. This isn't obviously the sexiest draft class. I don't know how much you pay attention to college football. This isn't the sexiest quarterback draft class. We'll see what these guys pan out to be. But Jared Goff right now, he seems to be locked in as the quarterback from a contractual standpoint. He seems to be locked in for next season. As well as the Lions quarterback. Now, the season after that, they can probably get out of it. Do you see the Lions going into this upcoming draft? Do you think that they are addressing quarterback here? Or what's your gut telling you? Do you think they just go best player available on the board, regardless of if that's a quarterback or not?
Yeah, I think, look, they need to seriously consider it, right? I mean, you're right. It's such a down year for quarterbacks, or that's the impression at least, that you definitely don't want to force anything at that position. It's such an important position, and Goff's contract is such that they can bring him back for another season. I have been critical of Jared Goff. I do think he's better than, an 8 quarterback or an 08-1 quarterback. So there's probably a little bit more there. And maybe if he's surrounded with a little more talent, he can do a little bit more. But I do think, and I firmly believe the Lions know they need to add their signal caller of the future. I just don't know if that guy's going to be there in this draft, whether they're picking at 1 or maybe the Rams pick at 30 or wherever that one shakes out to be. So I think they do the diligence. I don't have a problem with them waiting until 2023. That draft should be stronger at quarterback. They're not going to be a good team again next year, so maybe they're in a position to get a guy like a C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. But you do need to look at the Kenny Pickett's and the Malik Willis's and those guys that'll be at the top of the draft this year.
Absolutely, Dave. Well, Dave, I appreciate your time big time today, man. My last question for you, and I do this with every single guest that comes on. Can you give us a bold prediction for the Lions the rest of this season? And can you also give us your Super Bowl prediction?
Wow. My Super Bowl prediction before the year was Packers against the Chiefs. And, I guess I'll stay with it. I mean, KC hasn't been great. Obviously, they won tonight. And Mahomes maybe, starting to get back on track there. I have my doubts about the Chiefs right now, but I'm going to stick with that for now. As for the Lions, God, bold prediction. You know what? Look, like I said, they're not a good team, but they're not going to go winless. You know, I mean, it's just
Okay.
that's tough to do in the NFL. Look, I covered 0-16 when the Lions, did that in 2008. I think the Lions still win a game or two. Let's call it 2-14-1, I guess. Right? That's what they'll go.
I think that's bold based on what we've
Yeah.
seen what the product has been. So 2 wins is that's a good prediction. Dave, thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate your time, man. Hopefully we can have you again on the show next season.
Yeah, you got it, guys. Talk to you again.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, man. That was yeah, no one knows I have a futures bet on Houston, man. I have futures bet on Houston finishing last in the NFL, man. I think I said that a couple times now, but that was awesome. Thank you very much to Dave, man, coming on. That was a great guest. Let's transition over here, man. Let's go to Pats versus Browns before we get into our final segment here on the show tonight. 45-7, Taylor. This was welcome to the Mac Jones show. Hold on. Welcome to the McCorkle show. Okay. This guy has just been absolutely lights out. 19 for 23 today at $198, 3 tugs, no picks. And I think the bigger storyline here has to be Brian Hoyer, 3 for 3, 85 yards and a tug, coming in relief of McCorkle Jones. No, I'm just kidding.
Hoyer's back.
Hoyer's back, baby. I mean, this guy might be leading to the promised land. No, I'm just kidding. Ramondre Stevenson, 20 carries, 100 yards, 2 tugs, 5 yards a carry, man. And this Pats defense is just playing absolutely out of their mind right now. This has been a ton of fun to watch them. What did you see in this game, Pats and Browns, man? This was really just a rout from beginning to end.
It's kind of funny, during the draft process, there was rumors that the Niners traded up to draft Mac Jones, and everyone with an opinion basically hopped onto Twitter and said how stupid they would be to do such a thing. And now I was watching the games with my buddies today, and someone said, do you think if Jacksonville called the Patriots and said, hey, we'll trade you Trevor Lawrence for Mac Jones right now, do you think Bill Belichick would accept that right away, or do you think he would say no? Like, that's an actual discussion that you can have now. Maybe you disagree. I don't know. I'd probably still stick with Trevor Lawrence. It's still a little early, obviously, but Mac Jones is looking like the best rookie quarterback so far, and I guess it kind of helps when you have the best coach of all time with you as well, and some pretty decent weapons around you as well. But what a performance by the Patriots on both sides of the ball. Cleveland, jumping over them, I mean, they're such a tough team to figure out. I mean, I guess who knows where their head's at now. I mean, the Odell Beckham Jr., that was a pretty big distraction with him this past week or two. So who really knows where they're at. Baker Mayfield, he just does not look great. I know he's been kind of playing through some stuff this year and whatnot, but who knows where his confidence is at right now. It didn't help that Nick Chubb was out with COVID as well, but Ernest Johnson, when he did get his first start a couple weeks ago, he was electric. And today he was one of their best players on the field as well, so you can't really blame the run game. So, that's a tough one for Cleveland. I mean, this coming into the season, they were looking like a team that could maybe be a dark horse for the Super Bowl, and right now they're kind of in shambles here and got to pick themselves back up. But the Patriots, it might sound crazy, but if you look at their schedule down the stretch here, they could maybe steal the first or second seed in the AFC here. Like they're a team to talk about.
Oh yeah, they are. They absolutely are. Especially Mac Jones, he's not turning the ball. That's the biggest thing, right? That's the biggest thing with the rookie quarterbacks is just take care of the football, right? And that's why you don't see him, like, he doesn't have gaudy numbers by any mean, right? Like, he didn't even throw for 200 yards today. Okay, doesn't have gaudy numbers. He threw for 3 touchdown passes today, 3 touchdown passes I think today. Not anything. 3 touchdown passes is awesome, but I mean, he doesn't have gaudy passing yards. He doesn't have, I think he's at 13 touchdown passes or something like that on the season to 7 interceptions. But the thing is that he has been turning the ball over. He's been getting better and better as each week goes on. He's been getting even more and more efficient, which has been incredible. And I mean, he's, to a lot of people, he's reminding them, of course, I wasn't old enough to watch a very young Tom Brady step in for Drew Bledsoe, but I was old enough, but I wasn't old enough to understand it, appreciate it at the time. But yeah, I mean, this is for a lot of people, this is very reminiscent of when Tom Brady was coming in and just how efficient he was and how impressive he was. One last note on this, Pat's defense, 20 points or less in 6 out of the 10 games this season. Like I said, they've been playing lights out. 14 INTs on the year, which I believe is second in the league. And then they have a 75.7 QBR that they are allowing on the season, along with just 5 rushing touchdowns. So I think that's near the top of the league as well. So the Patriots added a lot of different free agency signings on both sides of the ball, including Matt Judon was the biggest one for them on the defensive side of the ball to get after the quarterback. He's among the league leaders in sacks right now. So listen, this Pats defense it's only getting better right now. I don't know if you have any final thoughts on this game.
Yeah, just one on Matt Judon. I think he's one of the most fun players on defense to watch in the entire league, and obviously he stands out even more with his red sleeves that he rocks every week. But it was crazy how much money the Pats spent this season. Some of those moves pretty questionable, and they're kind of shaping out that way. But Matt Judon, he's been electric for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, man, let's finish up this episode with a little bit of something fun here. Let's finish up with some award winners. I know that I've talked about it on the show previously with some MVP and some Coach of the Year, given my case for Matt LaFleur and whatnot. But listen, let's go through all of it. Let's go through and maybe quick rapid fire it ever. Maybe give a quick little point in case here for your pick. But let's start off with MVP. Who's your MVP through week 10 of the NFL season? Of course, we still have Rams, Niners tomorrow, but who's your MVP so far?
Well, I like how you said this is a little fun assignment that we'll finish off with, because I found this incredibly stressful, because for so many categories, I was like, it's this guy, but like, no, it might be this guy. It could be this guy too. So I was kind of stressing a little bit with this one, but it
was meant to be fun
at the same time. Yeah. Well, I'm glad your intentions were good. But for MVP, I think it kind of looked like Kyler Murray was going to be the guy the first couple weeks there, but he kind of got hurt. So we'll have to see how he rebounds moving forward here. But as of today, I think it goes to Matthew Stafford, if I'm being honest here. I know the Rams are loaded. They're all in. They've made so many moves, with Matt Stafford being one of them, obviously. But, his first year with a new team, and after playing a lifetime with the Lions and stuff, and he looks like he's been with McVay his entire life. He's been dominant. I know they're coming off a loss here, but he's exactly what that offense needed. They made it work the best they could with Goff for the longest time. And when they made that trade for Stafford, I was like, whoa, that's a big price to pay. But it looks like a genius move right now. He's a big reason why Cooper Kupp's having one of the best wide receiver seasons in years as well. So Matt Stafford would be my pick as of right now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Matthew Stafford is my pick as well. I think that for all the reasons that you mentioned, and I mean, listen, if Tom Brady had went against Washington football team today and put up the numbers that I was expecting him to, in terms of having a probably 300-yard day, 3 passing touchdowns, probably not turning the ball over. If he didn't have the day that he did today and had the day I expected him to, he probably would be in this conversation as well. He might be, jockeying for that position. But as it stands right now, especially after that Tom Brady performance, Matthew Stafford for me is far and away the MVP right now. Let's go to Offensive Player of the Year.
Or just one more thing. Or if Derrick Henry didn't get hurt, he would be in that conversation for me as well.
Yeah, he'd be on the outside.
I'm a little bit more back, I know, but
that's just it.
He carries the Titans. I know that they're man, somewhat okay without him so far, but he'd be in a conversation for me as well. But now with him out,
I agree.
And Brady's Stafford was looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's your Offensive Player of the Year?
I think it might have to be Cooper Kupp. Honestly, I hate to do a Rams sweep here, but this guy's been insane. He's been the best receiver in the league this year. I think it's got to be Cooper Kupp. Honestly, Jonathan Taylor has been awesome as well. Of course, you could always give it to a quarterback, but I like Cooper Kupp for Offensive Player of the Year right now.
Yeah, Taylor, we're supposed to be making this entertaining and not agreeing on everything. Okay, we're supposed to be going back and forth on these, but I'm going to also follow you on Cooper Kupp as well. I agree. This guy he's on pace for Calvin Johnson numbers when he went crazy and set the NFL record for receiving yards in a season. So for that reason alone, Cooper Kupp is the guy for me. And I think I was talking about it with one of my buddies just earlier this week in sense that, Cooper Kupp's a guy who I've always been a fan of since he came out in the draft. He's a guy for me who I was always expecting to be kind of that, almost maybe like a Hunter Renfrow in a sense, where he was going to be that sure-handed guy, great route runner, get the grind out the yards, go over the middle, be just kind of that grinder guy, be a 70 catch guy consistently, maybe a 60 catch guy consistently for 800 yards or something like that, maybe a K. But these numbers that he's putting up this season are absolutely absurd. It was Derrick Henry in the running for me. Probably if Derrick Henry didn't get hurt, I probably would have leaned to Derrick Henry, but Cooper Kupp for me, it's his award to lose right now. Defensive Player of the Year, who do you got?
Well, this is an award that for so many years is basically a J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, just kind of going back and forth. It basically felt like, but I think the Myles Garrett era is upon us. He's been, I think, leads the league in sacks right now. He's been a monster. I think it's got to go to him right now. I know I know Diggs is up there well because he has a bazillion picks, but that's a sexy stat. But I mean, if you kind of look at the analytics and watch all of his tape, he gets burned quite a bit as well. So there's a reason why quarterbacks throw the ball against him so often. I mean, he's a playmaker, obviously, but yeah, I don't think he really belongs in the conversation personally.
So I'm gonna go with Trayvon Diggs, but I will agree with you on this. Let me say this: Trayvon Diggs is absolutely agree with you in the sense that he is attacked so often, especially in man coverage. Trayvon Diggs, when he was coming into the draft last year, he is an awful man corner. Okay, he is an awful cover corner. And when I say awful, I just mean he's susceptible to giving up the deep ball and whatnot. Okay, but his biggest thing was when the Dan Quinn came in, shifted to the cover 3. I've already gone over all of this, okay? But this scheme is very much designed for Trayvon Diggs. His ability, he's a playmaker when the ball's in the air, turns into a wide receiver. So if he can keep his eyes on the quarterback, which he has been able to in this scheme, he's been able to make a ton of plays. So for that reason, I mean, 8 interceptions. And this is at this point in the season. I mean, if he's on pace for whatever, if he ends up with a dozen picks on the year, that's going to be really tough to not give it to him, regardless of how much he's getting torched. But at the same time, yes, I wrote names down like Myles Garrett. Harold Landry, by the way, for the Tennessee Titans edge rusher, is second in the NFL with 10 sacks on the year right now. I've been giving a lot of love to the Titans defense in recent weeks. Matt Judon, who we just finished talking about, 9.5 sacks. But right now, yes, I agree with you. Myles Garrett is my 1B, but I'm going to lean Trayvon Diggs right now. I'm buying into the sexy stat with 8 picks. Who do you have sitting there with offensive rookie of the year?
This is a tough one, actually. This one kind of feels exactly like last year. It was Justin Herbert and Justin Jefferson. And this year it's Mac Jones and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is doing basically what Justin Jefferson did last year, if not better. And Mac Jones isn't putting up the numbers that Herbert did, but he's winning, which Herbert wasn't really doing last year. So this is a really tough one. I think I'd have to lean Mac Jones, honestly, because he's a quarterback.
Okay.
Which sounds crazy. I hate using that as a thing. I hate when people just kind of automatically favor the quarterbacks, but
it's reality.
No one really. Yeah, but I mean, the Patriots are going to be a playoff team. He's been lights out. I kind of think Jamar Chase is going to kind of cool off a little bit here down the stretch, not have so many big time plays, but yeah, if Chase keeps putting up the numbers that he is, it's going to be hard to not give it to him. But I don't know if the Patriots are a top 3 seed in the AFC or something like that. I think it'd be kind of hard to not give it to Mac Jones.
They're going to be jockeying all year, you have to imagine. And I'm going to also go against you on this. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase on this. And let me throw some numbers at you. Okay, so he's sitting at right now on the season, 44 receptions, 835 yards, receiving yards on the year, 7 touchdowns. But let me throw this one at you. And this is the one that blew my mind. I didn't realize that Jamar Chase was putting up this number. 19 yards per catch. Okay, that is 4th best. Now, I don't know if people pay attention to on a yearly basis yards per catch, but anything over, I'm going to say 16, 17 yards per catch, that's elite level. Okay. And that's why you see the guys like Henry Ruggs, Tyreek Hill was for a long time. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was as well last year, I think. These guys are at the 22, 23, but these are the guys who are just maybe getting, well, especially early Tyreek Hill. These are the guys who are getting 3-4 catches a game, but they're taking the top off the defense. Okay. These are just the deep threats. When you have a guy like Jamar Chase, who is running the short routes, the intermediate routes, the deep routes as well, and averaging 19 yards per, he is gashing the defense every single time he touches the ball. That's what that means. He is 14 plays over 20 yards in the NFL. That is second best. 6 plays over 40 yards, first in the NFL. Listen, I have trashed the Bengals on that pick so much in terms of like them picking Jamar Chase over a lineman, but the fact that Jamar Chase is putting up these numbers is like, especially that 19 yards per grab, like that is absurd. That is absurdly good. And so, I mean, listen, I still think, well, no, I won't sit here and say that. Maybe I can get over it a little bit more now with the lineman should have been the pick, but I don't know. But Jamar Chase, the bottom line is for me is that these numbers are just so absurdly good. And I do agree with you. I would not be mad if Mac Jones took home the award. I think that he's more than deserving, but these numbers by Jamar Chase right now are just holy mother of God, man. Like he is putting up some crazy numbers right now. That was my big rant on that. Do you want to move on to defensive rookie of the year?
Yeah, but just quickly on Jamar Chase, I mean, I think him and Justin Jefferson are kind of, I know they're kind of different players than these two, but they're going to basically be the AJ Green, Julio Jones of this kind of a decade. It feels like these guys are going to be the top two receivers. And they were college teammates, which is absolutely insane to think about. But yeah, what Chase is doing is also kind of hilarious because in preseason he had a couple drops and he apparently didn't look that great in training camp and stuff. So everyone, he was kind of flipping in some drafts, especially some dynasty drafts. So when I did draft him in my dynasty league, I was kind of like, this might be a bust, but now I feel like a genius. So just for people to remember, don't really listen too much about what happens in training camp because it really doesn't matter. But Jamar Chase is the real deal. He could be the best receiver in the league for the next 10 years.
He's already, I think, I think he's already solidified himself as a premier receiver. Like, I'm not sitting here saying he's a top 3 receiver, but like he's a premier receiver in the NFL. Like, I think there will be lists with him after the season with him as a top 10 receiver in the league. I think that's, people will put him there. Okay, I got Micah Parsons as my defensive rookie of the year by clear, far and away. Do you?
No argument there. Yeah, Micah Parsons for sure. You watch the Cowboys play. He's always one of the guys that he's just all over the field. He's jumping all over the place. Yeah, he's a hard guy to miss.
He's all over the place, man. He's disgusting. Okay, and our last award to wrap up the Week 10 edition of the Final Drive here, Taylor. Coach of the Year. Who is your guy? This is also a tough award.
This is the toughest one. I also have 4 names written down here. Bill Belichick, which I hate to say, but like it's what he's done this year has been unbelievable. The rookie quarterback, Zach Taylor. I know the Bengals. They're 5-4, which is insane. But I mean, where this team was the last 2 years, it's been a huge jump for them. I think Brandon Staley was, really in that conversation as well. But they've kind of fallen off the map. So I've kind of taken him out of that group. Cliff Kingsbury, before Kyler went down, what they've been doing. Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. You mean, especially if they can keep this going without Derrick Henry, I think it'd be hard not to give it to him. Matt LaFleur, your boy, of course. So yeah, I'm buying myself some time here because honestly, I still can't really decide. But if I had to choose right now, I think it'd be Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, with Tennessee. I know that Jets loss kind of sticks out like so bad. Like if that game didn't happen, this wouldn't have been a conversation for me. I would have written Mike Vrabel and Sharpie, but that one does kind of make me think twice about it. But as of right now, I think I might gotta go with him. But I think but there's a lot to discuss there because I think there's so many guys that are deserving of it this year. LaFleur, with all the distractions with the Packers and stuff, with the fact they're still winning, is pretty insane. But then again, Aaron Rodgers has been pretty great. So yeah.
That's a great segue, Taylor, into my pick. I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur. And I mean, you guys see 12 up there, and listen, is it biased a little bit? Sure, but I can back it up with a ton of things, and I'll keep this very short. But I'm just going to rattle off some of the names that the Packers have had to play without this year. Aaron Rodgers, although they lost that game, but Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Zadarius Smith, Jair Alexander, Kevin King, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Josh Myers, rookie center, starting center, David Bakhtiari, and Aaron Jones now is who they're going to have to play without. They also have Rashawn Gary, who got hurt this week. Listen, there's positions in the league where your quarterback, your left tackle, your right tackle, depending on what hand your quarterback is, your cornerback, and then your edge rusher. Those are your 4 premier positions on a football field. The Packers have literally been without each of those and are still currently without each of those positions They have their quarterback Aaron Rodgers, but they're missing their all-pro corner in Jair. They're missing their all-pro edge rusher in Zadarius Smith. They're missing their starting center. They're missing their all-pro left tackle in David Bakhtiari. And they are holding the best record in the NFL. Matt LaFleur, I think, has coached in 46 games through his first 2.5 seasons in the NFL, and he has lost 10 of them. Okay, I don't really know what more to say about what Matt LaFleur needs to do to get one of these awards, or even just be in at least the conversation. But the narrative before was the fact that he's had Aaron Rodgers, he has this very talented team that he just has to coach. But now this year he's showing that he is winning without that very talented team. He's winning with rookies. Okay, he has Eric Stokes, a rookie cornerback, as his number one corner right now. I don't know what more I need to say. I'll get your thoughts to wrap this show up.
Well, until he wins without Aaron Rodgers, and who knows when that's going to happen. That could be as early as next year, or who the heck knows. That's been such a crazy story with those two, or Rodgers and the Packers, that is. But until then, he's probably not going to get the credit that he deserves, honestly. It's always going to be, there's always going to be that, but you have the best quarterback or top 3 quarterback at the very worst in Aaron Rodgers. So that's always going to kind of be like a knock on him, per se. But I believe I saw a stat the other day where he has the most wins out of any coach in their first 3 or 4 years in NFL history or something like that, which is insane. But again, no one's kind of saying, hey, Matt LaFleur, is all because of him. It's always because of the quarterback, which obviously did play a huge role in that. So, but no, you make a strong argument. I'm not, and I don't think you're, that's a crazy argument at all. There's so many guys who talk about for this. Cliff Kingsbury as well. Some other names I mentioned. It's going to be a fun one down the stretch here. But I just want to ask you one Packers question before we do go.
Yeah, dude. Let's go.
Just before I hopped on here, I was just on Twitter, and it's kind of a funny debate some people were having because Aaron Jones did get hurt, and who knows, he'll be out for a little while here. But AJ Dillon opens the door for him to get some reps here for at least the next week, I'd imagine. But AJ Dillon, was that a good pick by the Packers in round 2? They got roasted for it at the time. Some people still roast them for it, even though they have the game today and probably will have a couple more big games, of course. But was that a bad pick, or are you a believer in that one?
Hey, man, I mean, Aaron Jones just sprained his MCL today, so he is going to be out for the foreseeable future. And AJ Dillon has been putting up numbers with Aaron Jones in the backfield, and now he's going to get the full workhorse workload. Are you kidding me right now? Where AJ Dillon is the guy who yes, to answer your question, it was a good pick. And AJ Dillon is the guy who, when you're getting down to this time of year, it's getting colder. It's fourth quarter of a December game, and you are beat down on the defensive side of the ball. You are tired, and it is a 4th and 1, and AJ Dillon at 250 pounds is coming down on you. You do not want to make that tackle. Okay, that is the guy in that moment that you want. For that one moment right there, that's the guy. If that can win you a game, that makes the pick worth it, in my opinion. And he's done that before.
A second round pick, man.
But the other thing is too, is that a lot of people get it confused as well. And I don't blame them, because maybe if you don't watch the Packers, you wouldn't know this. But I mean, AJ Dillon, he's obviously a big boy running wise, but he has hands as well. Like, he's been utilized in the past game as well. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he's Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara out of the backfield, or even AJ Jones for that matter, or Aaron Jones for that matter. But the fact that he can still catch the ball out of the backfield, he is a weapon. A lot of people are going to sleep on his abilities. And I think that now that Aaron Jones is sidelined for a little bit, we're going to be able to see AJ Dillon's his full skill set on display, and people are going to be, in a few weeks' time, I think by the end of this Aaron Jones injury, people are going to be talking about AJ Dillon as being a great, one of the top tier backup running backs in the NFL.
I don't think that's worth a second round pick. But he, because I think you could find a guy like that on the street, honestly. But AJ Dillon is a good player, so that's kind of the argument. Like, yes, he's good, and he's going to put up some big numbers and stuff. But it's like, is that worth a second round pick? I don't think so. Yeah. I think you can get a starting offensive lineman as your best receiver, awesome linebacker, whatever. I think you could get that with a second round pick. That's possible. I mean, it's a value thing at the end of the day, right? Like in the second round pick, in the second round, or in the NFL draft, it's just like, you got that running back that, like, yeah, we're high on AJ Dillon. It's just like, listen, we think that this guy won't be there in the third round when it comes back to us, like, and we want this guy. Like, this is our guy. Let's go out and get him. And I mean, he's paid dividends so far. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that all the other second round picks haven't been worth it, but I think AJ Dillon
he's already proved his worth as a second round pick. And I think that now, especially with your lead back being out, I think that AJ Dillon is going to be able to prove that once again, that he is even more so now with getting that full complement of the touches. But
well, if I was running
yeah,
an NFL team, which I don't think I will anytime soon, but if I was, you would never see me draft a running back in the first round. Like Najee Harris, we're talking about rookie of the year. He's probably a third in there or close to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't care. That was a horrendous pick, taking a running back in the first round. Travis Etienne, horrendous pick. Josh Jacobs a couple of years ago, terrible pick. Unless it's Christian McCaffrey type guy, that's not worth a first round pick. Even
Yeah, and I mean the yeah, I mean at the
I'm sorry, Nolan, it's true.
With the I mean, especially with the injuries that we've seen, I mean Christian McCaffrey too, like hopefully, I mean, especially I hate to be that guy, but as for my fantasy team's sake, I mean Christian McCaffrey's has been hurt a ton, man. Like I mean he's the past couple of seasons, he's played only a few games in the past couple of seasons. So Derrick Henry, terrible pick. There you go. Yeah, but no, it's yeah, man. I think that first round pick, I do agree with you. Like first round pick, it's tough to see a first round pick being thrown to a running back, but I think that it's a matter of like if it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for example, this past year, they didn't really have any holes. I mean, they had Leonard Fournette, but if they had put it towards like a running back, for example, I don't think you would be mad at that, right? Like, I mean, they don't really have the holes. If that's kind of like your finishing touch to your offense is drafting a running back in the first round, which you're probably not going to get. I don't know. Maybe you'll get an upper echelon running back at like late 30s. But yeah, if that's your final piece, I have no problem you drafting there. But I do agree, like in terms of like the Jaguar situation, taking a guy like Etienne there, I mean, like you have a lot of other needs that you could address with your team. So yeah, I do agree with you to a certain extent.
Well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was supposed to be kind of a bonus pick for the Chiefs, kind of just
exactly
one more weapon for them, and that was a horrendous pick. And I bet they wish they could have taken a corner or an offensive alignment with that pick, even though they maybe didn't need that at a time. But for Nolan's sake, I'll stop bashing running backs draft capital. But yeah, give me Dearness Johnson. I'll just take a guy like that from the XFL or whatever, and I'm happy.
There you go. There you go, man. I mean, yeah. There's the running backs are. I'm with you though. I'm personally not drafting a running back super high, but there are some special ones that come into the draft, and there will be some special ones in this year's draft as well. I'm very high on some of the running backs coming in. But Taylor, we went over the hour mark, man. This is the first time we've gone over the hour mark, but I'm okay with that, man, because we've been chopping it up about football. Thank you very much for staying up so late with me, man, and I appreciate anybody who was listening, who tuned in and stayed with us this long. But Taylor, man, thank you very much as always, man. We'll hopefully have you on one more time before the season is over.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. If there's something worth staying up past bedtime for, it's talking football. So I'm always happy to do it.
No doubt. I think we got a couple of Minnesota Vikings guys coming on to end the season, possibly even Arash Madani. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
I got some words for Arash Madani, so that'll be good.
If he comes on, maybe we'll get you on here as the guy. But Taylor, man, thank you very much, man. Have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, you bet, man. You as well.